Welcome to the Six Figure Personal Stylist Podcast, the ultimate no BS business podcast for ambitious personal stylists ready to build a six-figure and beyond personal styling business. You won't hear the typical snooze fest business advice that most personal stylists get told all of the time. Nope, instead I'll be sharing business building strategies that will help you create a killer personal brand, a cult following of loyal personal styling clients, and make a ton of cash while creating lasting style transformations for your clients. I'm Nicole Achi, your host and a former personal stylist of 14 years who built a lucrative styling business in 3 major cities, but only after spending years trying to crack the six-figure styling business code without burning out. And now I'm here to tell you how to do exactly the same. Let's get into it. Today, I am sitting down with my long-term client, Gab, who is a New York City-based stylist. And Gab is the kind of stylist who makes running a successful styling business online look really effortless and like she has it all together. Behind the scenes, Gab's business has been a very steady evolution. And we're going to talk about that today, what that looked like for her, refining systems, owning her voice at different stages of her journey, and making strategic shifts that most stylists do not even realize will be massive game changers. In this conversation, she's going to share how she went from, sure, I'll take anyone, to building a business that runs with clarity, confidence, and killer boundaries. We talk about why your marketing might feel off without you even knowing why, and how little shifts behind the scenes can completely change how your business feels and performs. If you are in the personal styling game for the long haul, this one's for you. Hi, Gab. Thank you for being with me today.
Hi, so happy to be here.
So Gab is one of my clients who I've worked with for like 2 years. I feel like a long time.
Yeah, 2 at least.
I'm really excited to have her here today because we are going to talk about a lot of the like evolution stuff that comes with running a styling business, kind of like the behind the scenes, like what it looks like to like step into your marketing, what it looks like to like step into your feeling of professionalism. So why don't you kick us off with telling us a little bit about where you're located, when you started styling, and kind of like where your business was when we first met?
Yeah, so I am based in New York City. I started my styling business officially in 2018 as a side hustle. I was kind of just doing it with friends and family while having a corporate job. And then in 2022, I left corporate and decided to do it full time. So it's kind of been 2 chapters. And, the 2018 to 2023 was like just a fun little hobby. And then in 2023, I decided to really take it seriously. And obviously, that's a very different business than just working with family and friends.
I've worked with Gab for so long and through so many iterations. I couldn't remember if like she was doing hourly, if she was packages, and we'd remembered that she was doing a bit of both. So tell me a little bit about that. Why you had a little bit of both, a little bit of everything.
At that time, I was definitely in a scarcity mindset of like, make it work for anybody. So I understood that having packages was the right thing to do based on, research and like other service providers that I'd worked with, and that it just seems like easier for everyone and kind of more professional and like nice to have a container that's really clear. But also, I didn't want to turn away any clients. So if someone came to me and was like, "Oh, hey, like I just need event shopping," or like I just need you to pick out a couple pairs of shoes for me, I was just in a place where I was like, sure, 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 we'll do it hourly, no problem. Like I was willing to take any business, even if it was like something that didn't feel like my wheelhouse, or someone that didn't feel like my wheelhouse, or a project that like maybe I wasn't the right person for. I would just say yes to everything.
In the beginning, kind of need to because you need the experience.
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely don't regret it, but that is the mindset I was in at the time.
And then we moved you fully to packages 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But you said that like even though you had packages on your website, you were like not as confident in selling them. And then you were mentioning how like there's a specific turning point that made you more confident. I think people will be surprised to hear what it was. So why don't you share that with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really interesting. And I don't think I even exactly realized it was happening until a little after it had happened. So in our first intensive together, that's when I implemented onboarding and offboarding and like systematizing emails for every step of the process, having templates for that, and like, how to prep for a closet edit kind of emails, and just like making systems of all of that, as well as having my freebie and like setting it up in Flowdesk with all the emails. Implementing all of that process for me kind of filled in the hole of like, I don't know, I'm a little girl buying things for people to like, I'm a professional, this is my job. And it made me feel really confident in saying, like, no, I am a professional. This is how I work. If you're not interested, no, thank you.
You said something earlier that made me think of like so many clients say like, "Oh, I knew there was something off." Like I knew that I wasn't running it like a professional business, but like I wasn't quite sure what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
that's exactly how I felt.
and I see stylists that like even that have been in the game for years, they're like, "I know something isn't right." And a lot of it really is like the systems and knowing like why things work together and why packages upsell or downsell and just like understanding your own business.
Yeah. And like making it feel like a real business when you interact with a real business and you get a receipt automated via email, just like the little things all being there that make you feel, that made me at least feel like going from like my little shopping business to like, no, I'm a real professional. And it's funny too, because in my corporate life, a lot of it, I was in operations. So like, I love systems.
You do.
I
Like
love when things are
truly
automated.
you
I love when software works. I love when things are set up. Yeah, you know that about me better than most people. So I really did know. I was like, there are systems that need to be here, but I do not know what they are.
yeah, and they're really not that complicated as someone's like a
No, not at all. Like it took us a month to implement all of this.
yeah, it's not hard. But as someone that would if I had heard that, I'd have been like, "Uh-oh, I don't wanna that sounds terrifying." Trust that I have some pretty simple systems because 'cause I'm not that person, but one of the things I found really interesting about watching your career unfold, this is why it's so cool to be a stylist or to just be in transformational work is, like, you watch people evolve, and it's, like, such a privilege, and it's been such a privilege to watch you evolve, and one of the things that's cool is you kinda knew who your market was, like, from the minute I met you, but it has definitely been a journey to shaping it and cultivating the messaging around it, so who do you work with, Gab?
Yeah, I love that question. And you're so right. I always kind of knew it in my heart, but was in that scarcity mindset of like, oh, I'll take whoever. And if whoever is like the person I like, yay for me. But if not, I guess whatever, it's fine. So I think of my girl as like there are some demos like, 30 to 50, like lives in a big city. Most have corporate jobs, but not all. But for me, it's really more of like who she is in terms of mindset. Like I have realized through a conversation we had recently that like most of my what I say my girl or my girls is like, my ideal client and the ones I've worked with that I love, which now lately is all of them, which is so great. But my girls have all gone to therapy. My girls are all doing work on themselves, be it like journaling or meditation or just like, you know, thinking about what their problems are and trying to fix them. And style is like seemingly kind of one of the last places they're stuck. I was re-looking at a client's onboarding form recently in preparation for my last call with her, and she had written, I have a great job, awesome family and friends. I take good care of myself physically. I love how I look, and my style is kind of the last missing piece. And like that really clicked for me because I think that's a lot of my girls are in that situation. Like they're killing it at their jobs. They have big social lives. They travel, they do cultural things. Like they have a really robust lives, and that style piece is kind of like the last thing holding them back.
That we've never actually talked about this, but, like but I actually think that is, like, such a good qualifier for a client because it means they're gonna come to the transformational process, like 90% there versus, like, trying to waste
They're ready.
like, wasting time being like, "Okay, do you know who you are? Do you know what you like?" Like, that person's already fine with, like, stepping into what they like. They're not, like, trying
Totally.
they're not looking for the permission, and so it doesn't slow the process down, so that is a really cool indicator, and one of the things you've done a lot of is, like, refine, so you've always known it was someone that was self-aware, you've always known it's a woman, you've always known those things, but it's interesting to watch your refinement then get reflected in your marketing, which then brings you in more clients and then gets you more of the better client.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that process and how that has felt.
Yeah. So I remember actually when I first started, again, from the scarcity mindset, I never wrote like, I work with women who blah, blah, blah. I always wrote people because I was
Mhm.
like, I don't know, like men have money and need styling too. It's not my
Right.
favorite thing to do, but I'll do it. And after like, I don't even remember like which client specifically, but like working with one male client who was like perfectly fine. I was like, this is not for me. Like, I just don't like it. And I remember so vividly that feeling of then writing my next social post and writing like she, her, women, and making that specific change, how good it felt. Like to just drop that, like, I'll work with anybody and narrow in on who I really want to work with and frankly, like who I can serve better. Like my knowledge of menswear isn't as strong as my knowledge of women's wear. Like just from a not that couldn't learn, I absolutely could, but like I never wanted to, which I think says a lot.
Yeah.
So like that was a big turning point for me. And like I had some photos in my grid of like men I'd worked with and I archived all of those and like changed my Instagram bio to say like I work with women who blah 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 blah. And each time I've like done something, that was the biggest one, but each time I've made some kind of like refining moment, it feels so empowering. And I never think again about like, oh no, but what about all the men who could pay me? Like, no,
Yeah.
there are enough of like my niche isn't so niche that it's 25 people and I'm not gonna have a career. Like there are plenty of people out there who I can work with who are my girls, as I like to call them.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've mentioned the word scarcity a few times, but it's so funny when I think of scarcity, I always think of like, oh, there's not enough money or like clients to go around. But some of the scarcity that I'm hearing is like, it's so interesting because I think this is like so much more common is like, I don't like almost like I don't deserve to like fully love every aspect of my business. Like I have to take what I
Totally.
can get. It wasn't even about money. It was like, who am I to enjoy this? Who am I to be lit up? Like, and it's like, honestly, nobody wants a stylist that isn't. So, like, if you're listening to
Totally.
this and you feel like, you're past the point of getting the experience. Gab already had it. She knew how to do a closet edit. She knew how to run the sessions. Like, it's interesting to notice that a lot of scarcity is often just fear of, like, feeling happy or feeling like you deserve to have the people that you actually wanna work with versus, like, I'll take what I can get.
Absolutely. Yes, and I would add that coming from having worked in corporate for over a decade before doing this, I felt I had a lot of jobs that sucked and that made me
Right.
miserable every day.
Yeah.
So, like,
Right.
it's not an overnight transition to like, I'm building a career that I love and everyone I work with is great. It took some time because I was just used to like
Right.
being like, well, yeah, this is how you make money. It's not always gonna be fun. And like, obviously, being an entrepreneur is not always fun. There are plenty of things that are annoying or hard or whatever. But like, if I have full control over who my clients
Yes.
are, shouldn't they all be people I like? And that I think the deprogramming of like
Yeah.
what is normal at work from working in corporate is a huge part of that too.
Yeah, it's not culturally normal to be like, "I love what I do." So, like, that is part of it as well, and I think that's a really important point for anyone that's coming from the corporate world, or even if you're not around other entrepreneurs, like, you've so little control.
I just like I never thought I love what I do was real.
Okay, yes, also that. Yeah, it kinda seems like people are lying, doesn't it?
I thought, especially in corporate, like I love what I do. I do marketing for pharma. Like, no, you don't.
No, you don't,
Like, I
Jane.
think a lot of
Jane,
people
no
do.
one believes you, Jane. All
No
right?
one
Sit down,
believes
Betty.
you.
No one just yeah,
Right.
yeah. You're
So,
right.
like, yeah, coming from that world, I was like, yeah, you love what you do if you're like a world famous painter, cool, but like that's not for normies. And now I see that it can be, and that's wild and amazing.
It's really hard for me to not go on a tangent about how this is also true of our client style, but I'm gonna keep it locked into this because 'cause I'm like, "Yes!" One of the things that's super cool about Gab is, she does things scared all the time. I'll be like, "Go do this," and she'll be like, okay." And I know that it's not f like, I have some clients that are like, "Act first, think later." Actually, I have a lot of clients that are like that. Gab is more in the middle. She's not as slow of a decision maker as me, but she's not the fastest decision maker. She's right down the middle of very, like, logical. And so she'll do some deliberation, but it won't keep her back. And so it's been interesting to watch you really step up your marketing, refine your messaging, and put yourself out there in new ways. So talk a little bit about that process of, like, kind of every time you get to the next level, as you were just talking about, being a little scared. and doing it anyway. Do you get used to that, or how's that going?
I will say, like, when I'm in those moments, I hear you in my head saying imperfect action. I'm not your stereotypical perfectionist. Like, I've always described myself as an type A minus.
I love.
I would rather do the thing like pretty well, but definitely on deadline and not like have an all-nighter.
Yes.
So like rereading something 75 times before posting it was never going to be me, but like rereading it 10 times and like beating myself up a little bit and then posting it was always going to be me. So your phrase of imperfect action has been really helpful for me. And just like working for yourself, in some ways the stakes are really high, but in other ways the stakes are really low. If I make a mistake, my boss isn't going to yell at me. Like literally nothing's going to happen if I make a small mistake.
No.
If you make a lot of small mistakes, that's bad. Obviously, it adds up. But like
Yeah.
I've posted things with typos and found it like 4 days later and been
Story
like,
of my life.
"Okay," and fixed it and it's literally fine.
If anybody even noticed.
If anybody even noticed, which probably no one did. Maybe one person did and they're like, "Oh, she made a typo. Okay, she's a human alive." Also, someone who like sees you make one typo and discounts you as a person is not someone I care about. Anyway,
Honestly,
so
it's a great way to vet people that are not who you want to work with.
yeah,
It's actually great to be a little human. I was listening to a podcast about this today. You said you unarchived some of your posts for something you had to do, and it was very telling. Tell me more about that.
it was wild, I have to tell you. So there's like two chapters. There's the posts I was doing when I was just doing this for fun as a side hustle that were like so unhinged and embarrassing, but like also at the time, who cares?
Mhm.
Um, just like pictures of random stuff, like a collage of like, I bought these three things with a client today, but like no brand tags, no links. Like it just was like someone who does not know how to be a creator on the internet, which is what I was at the time, and it's totally fine. Those were like kind of like looking at like a drawing you did as a child. I was like, oh, that's cute for her. Like in the context of the time, it's totally fine. The ones that like made my skin crawl were the ones from the beginning of taking it full time when I
Mm,
was still living in that scarcity mindset and thinking I
mhm,
had to do what other creators did and posting like, here are like my sale pics from the Bloomingdale's sale, or like
mhm.
really like bad graphics and like things spinning around in ways that are atrocious to me now. Because I was just still finding my footing and like not understanding what my voice should be based on who I am. And I was just doing things I saw other people doing.
But, like, don't you kinda think do you think you needed to go through that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's no way you're not just like born a full grown adult. You don't just arrive as an entrepreneur who knows all the things. Like I had to go through that to get here, but it almost makes me like a little sad for her because I'm like, oh, she was just trying to like do whatever she thought she should do.
What's interesting is, like, you did have some frameworks during that point. I think you're talking about, like, the beginning of probably our work together?
And even like before like right when I started,
Yeah,
like
and,
before
like
our work together.
but even with frameworks, people still do this, like, because what it was for you, I think, was, as you talked about, is the peeling away of the scarcity and the doing of the systems, the doing of the business in a way that was so drastically different than before because you just didn't know to, that every time you stepped a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper into like, you got a little closer to your real voice.
Yeah.
And that over time, like, because 'cause we've worked together for so long in so many different containers that the refinement with you specifically has been very, very clear to me. And to me, it's like you're the doer. You do the work. That's not what your thing is. It was about the work being the catalyst for you like seeing yourself and listening to yourself and almost like becoming better acquainted with yourself as a creator and as a
Totally.
yeah.
Totally.
And so many people are afraid of that work because it is public. But also if you're not a little embarrassed of yourself, you're kind of not doing it right.
Right, exactly. There's some like famous quote that like if you're an artist, you should be embarrassed
Yeah.
of things you did every 5 years or like something like
Yeah.
that. Um yeah, and it again, it's not a thing of regret. It's just like
Yeah.
a little cringe, but like yeah, when I and I'm I honestly hope that like 2 years from now, I'm looking at the stuff I'm posting in 2025 and thinking it's cringe because I'm continuing to evolve. With There's an Ira Glass quote that I'm sure I'm going to butcher, but it's something like, when your skill hasn't caught up to your taste,
Yes. I was
it's
thinking about
like
that.
very hard to know what to do. And the only thing to do is keep doing it until that delta is bridged.
That is the perfect way to say this. I think we get so obsessed with like having the answer and having the framework, and like we don't even realize that even when we have it, we still have to become the person.
Yeah.
Can do that like in our sleep. Like that is what expertise is. And when you start a business, you think it's going to be about being that person with style, right? Not with marketing, because no one's dreaming of a business so they can market it, you know?
Right.
I don't think. I don't know who they are if they do.
So it's funny you say that about no one dreams of marketing their business. And like, yes, agree. But I will say at this point now, I feel like thinking about my marketing and like writing copy and thinking about who is reading this and who is she and what do I want to say to her has actually made me a better stylist. Like, it
Mhm.
my questions to my clients have gotten deeper. It's kind of like a self-feeding thing. And like, as
Yes.
I have better, more robust conversations with my clients, that informs my marketing. And then
Yes.
people respond to that marketing, which makes me have more thoughts, which makes me ask different questions. And it's kind of like like they're both self-feeding and building each other up, if that makes sense.
100%. That is a genius point. And it is also why I feel like a broken record on the podcast being like, you can't be transformational if you're not looking at these things yourself. And this is what I mean. Like, it will feel hard to run a transformational business if you are not looking at yourself and saying, like, why am I not evolving? Not just looking for the answer. And like, not just looking for the framework, not just looking for the marketing hack. And what's wild is the reason why marketing feels hard is because we're not willing to be okay with ourselves and our own imperfection so that we can just put it out there so that then we can get, because the thing that's interesting is I was thinking this when you were talking about like the things that make you kind of cringe from that period is you were still getting clients. So it's not like you can be cringe. You could not be doing that great. Maybe you're not weren't getting the clients you wanted. Maybe you weren't getting a million clients, but you were still attracting people. You still had paying clients and it wasn't where you wanted it.
Yeah, that's right.
That'll teach you a lot about life. Now you are pretty good at
It's not
vetting.
binary.
No, it's not. But it's so much easier to think it is because then our brain gets to like relax a little and give us a pass. But like now your messaging clearly calls in the right people. And what has that experience of watching that change, like watching the literal sales call forms change, what has that done for like how you think about your business in general?
It makes it feel so much easier because I'm like, this is exactly the type of person I should be working with, and I'm excited to work with them. And I don't feel like I have to convince them to work with me. I know that if I just, A, the marketing has done a lot of the convincing for me and brought them here. But B, like, it's very obvious that this is a good fit. And if they don't move forward, it's usually because they're like, it's a timing thing. I'm traveling for work, or like, I am waiting till I get my bonus. Like, things that are not like objections about me or my service. It's like circumstantial things that they will clear in the next few months.
When you started marketing like more fully in your own voice and you could see that progression,
Mhm.
was there any part of you that was afraid of judgment, or do you think it was just like a not realizing what was in the way? Like, what do you think some of it was like, oh, if I say what I really think, I'll get judged? Or do you think it was more like, oh, I didn't even know that that scarcity was in the way?
It's definitely less about judgment. Caring about other people's judgment is work I have already been doing for a lot of my life. So I
Yeah.
think I've cleared a lot of that. I think it's kind of similar to like the systems thing. It's like, I didn't realize there was a deeper I should be going.
Hmm.
And like, the more working with you and talking through it, and like, there have been times where you have sharpened, I've given you like specific content ideas, and you've said like, okay, but how can we take this deeper? Like, what's the real, like, when she says this, what does she really mean? And how can you speak to that? Then understanding like, oh, like, I'm skimming the top. There is more I can do here. And then what does that look like? What do I actually want to say?
Yeah.
It's more like a block I didn't realize, rather than like, oh, I know
Mm.
this is the thing I should do, but I'm scared to do it. Like, that's not really my style for the most part.
Yeah, I didn't think that's what's interesting about you. That's why I asked because I was like, "Huh, that's one thing that's really unique about you is I feel like you had done so much of the self-acceptance slash, like, worrying about people's judgment, and in the same and so, like, we've moved pretty quickly through things versus
Yeah.
and I think that's, like, similar to what we were saying at the top of the episode about clients, like, if they haven't done that self-acceptance, it's everything's a little harder,
Yeah.
but you can't, like, control for that. Like, you could hope for it, but you can't control for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
do you think that your marketing has getting better at marketing has reinforced your feeling that your prices are worth what they are?
100%.
Yeah, you don't think it's the other way that, like, you upped your prices and then like, do you think that's also a self-feeding system is what I'm trying to say basically of, like, you get better at marketing, then your prices feel more aligned, then you up your prices, then you get better like, it
Not for me, actually. I think like that thing I was talking about earlier with like the systems and implementing that, like after we did that month, I literally doubled my prices and then I raised them again later that year. And now I'm
Mhm,
raising them a little bit every year.
mhm.
Literally every time I do my service, I'm making micro tweaks to it to make it better from what I'm learning
Yes.
that time. So
Yeah.
I'm getting better at my job every day. Therefore, I should raise my prices every year.
Ah, there you go. That is part of this, right? Of the, like, the awareness it takes to run a business is this is a really good point that I didn't even think of, like, you in order to, like, fully be an expert, the awareness it takes of the marketing, the messaging, the places that you are blocked and then your service, all of that is like you just expect that everything's going to change. You just
Hmm.
expect that it's but not overhauls, which is how we like to think sometimes. Just like you expect that this is a process of evolution, just like we expect our clients to grow out of
Exactly.
clothes and get over it. And when you feel that way, I think it just changes how you look at your business because you're just like a little bit more chill about things. You're like, oh,
Yeah. I also like as a person prefer like never ending micro tweaks or
mm,
like I don't like to do a big spring cleaning. I'm cleaning a little bit in my home every day. I'm editing my wardrobe like every time I get dressed. I'm like, "Oh, should I get rid of this?" It's just how my brain works. For me, it's so much easier to do things small and often than
hmm.
like big overhauls. I find big overhauls like scary and stressful and
But,
overwhelming.
like, it's kinda like dining. That's why, like, people never stick with things because 'cause you're like, "I'm gonna
Right.
change who I am." Like, our brain
Exactly.
loves it, but then it never gets us a result, so
Never.
I was like, "Maybe it's because 'cause you're good at systems that you know that," and then I was like, "No, I think that's probably just you realizing that that's how life is successful." So,
And I've only realized that honestly in the last like 4 or 5 years. Like, I also we've talked about this a lot, like, the work I've done on myself around body image and stuff, but, like, I also
yeah.
used to do, like, really intense diets for, like, 11 days and then fall off, and it's just, like I mean, there are so many other reasons why that is bad for me emotionally, physically, spiritually, but, like, yeah, I've just found I have so much more success in doing the thing a little bit every day and never having to do a big overhaul refresh. I mean, I'm sure at some point I'll like redo my
Of
website or like
course.
there are times and places for that. But for
Of
me, it's
course.
just so much easier to like literally, I think the last 5 clients I've worked with, I have made one or two micro tweaks to my process just based on like something that they had asked a question about that they thought was confusing them. Like, oh, this shouldn't be confusing. I can change the wording here, or I can send this email earlier or later or whatever.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, everyone's got too many services. Because if you're doing this level of paying attention, you could never make them all
Exactly.
good. Yeah, that's such a great point. What do you think I mean, you talk to a lot about stylists, you follow other stylists, you're in this community, you're, pretty you know what's up. What do you think when you look out at the industry and other people in it, like, what do you think is, after all the work you put into your business, is, like, missing from the general understanding of how to run a styling business, like, from the outside now?
That you can make it your own.
Yeah, you
And,
think
like,
that's a
you can oh, yeah, I think your people because you teach us that, right? But, like,
right.
that every stylist is gonna be different, and, like, I think people have a lot of preconceived notions about what a stylist does,
Mhm.
and some of those might be right, and some of those might be wrong, but, like, it kinda doesn't matter as long as you find the stylist that's for you. Like, you've talked about before many times, like, how some stylists, including you when you were a stylist, hated doing closet edits.
Hate that.
And like, I say this with genuinely zero judgment, but to me,
Yeah.
I think that is, for me, that is so important. I also love it. I find it like tickles a part of my brain that's like very
Yeah.
satisfying to get rid of stuff. I'm just that kind of person. And like, I feel like that's when I really get to know people, because with each item, they're like telling me a little story about it, which is kind of painting a
Yeah.
picture of like how they got here and whatever. But like, I also understand that other people hate it and don't find it helpful. And that's amazing for them that they don't do it. There are no right or wrong ways to build your business as long as it is serving people. So I think like that is a lesson a lot of people could learn from. Like I remember we talked about this because of a software I had that you could like document, like take pictures of every single thing in someone's wardrobe. I was like, oh, I have to do that. And then it'll be like the clueless closet and people will love it. And I did it once. And I told you, I was like, I hated every minute of doing that. That appointment was so tedious. My client seemed bored and annoyed. I was bored and annoyed. Uploading it all was useless. And then I checked in with that client 2 months later and they're like, oh, yeah, I just use the outfits part. I don't really use like the individual pieces. And I was like, wow, cool. I'm never doing that again.
Yeah. 100%. And some clients want, and for some people, it makes them a lot of money because they have their client's closet there and they are doing a lot of little services. And so it's fine. But everyone is different. It's so funny you said that about the closet edit thing. And this is why I think like it's so wild in this industry. Because when you were like, I feel like no one talks explicitly about, even me, as we're having this conversation about these things enough, because I'm like, you know what's weird? Is like, I hated closet edits. I felt about closet edits how you felt about photographing everything. But I always had a closet review where we talked through the pieces. It was the organizing and getting rid of and like, and I did do it, when I had to
Yeah.
for the higher up clients, but like higher up price clients. But it's so funny because it's like what we all often see as like valuable in the process is like that talking through things with clients, right? Most stylists would say that's really important, right? I don't know
Yeah.
many, but it's like the depth and the level you take it to. Like some stylists are like, I can't wait to like get them new hangers and like get all the dust bunnies out. And I was like,
Oh, that's
you
me. That's so
I
me.
know. I know. And that's what's so funny because whenever
Yeah.
I say in a podcast or say anything about like, hey, I didn't do a closet, it just elicited the point, not that you don't have to, but that like you can do
Yeah.
whatever you
Yeah.
want. I always think of your love for closet edits. Like it always is like the polar opposite. And it's just so funny because the more it's again that example of like we feel like we almost some of it is just blind, not knowing. Some of it's that like we don't know what matters in a business. And then some of it is just like we feel like who am I to not like this? Everyone else is liking it. Like how dare I? And it is that's interesting. I didn't think that your answer was going to be that you can do
What
it
did
your
you
own
think it was
way.
going to be?
I didn't know. I was genuinely curious. I was genuinely curious. If you had to say what you think like your biggest area of growth in your business has been, what do you think it is?
Mindset, for sure.
Yeah? The scarcity stuff or something else?
The scarcity stuff, just like owning that I'm a professional and I can do this. What I was saying about like not realizing that my marketing could or should go deeper.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think my actual skills of like how to shop for someone or how to do a closet edit have changed
Yeah.
that much compared to everything else.
Yeah, and that's why I think being established and having some experience under your belt gives you the bandwidth to then focus on the business part for a little bit. And I think you were in the
Yeah.
perfect you were in the perfect place. What are you most excited about in your business in the coming future?
The momentum that I'm in right now, what you were saying before about how shifting my marketing is making just the right clients come to me,
Mhm. Yeah.
like continuing to work with the people who really light me up. Like, I have one client right now that every time I hear from her, I'm like, oh, what does she have to say now? Because she's so smart and so funny. And I like cackle at her emails. And it, like, we have our closet edit tomorrow, and I'm so genuinely excited. It's going to be fun. I want to work with more people like that.
Isn't it the
And I know
best
I will.
feeling? That's how I feel about you guys every day. I'm like in my DMs, like, oh, I can't believe I get to do this. Like when friends or family are following me, like, excuse me, this is not for you. This is for us. Like, why are you
Right.
following me?
Like, get out of here.
This is not your party. Get out. Like, and you can feel that way every day. I feel like that for a lot of my styling business, but I really feel like that in this business. And it's there's no you feel like you can just like it's the best.
It's insane. Like, I can't believe this is my life.
I know. Isn't it great? I'm so excited that you guys get to feel this. It's like, why I do everything I do is because it's wild to wake up and be like, holy crap, this is my life. You get to go to this closet and it's tomorrow with this woman.
Truly, like, after being, like, emotionally abused in corporate jobs for 10 years, and now I am my own boss and I pick who I work with, I just, like,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Like, sometimes I'm like, "I'm gonna wake up from this dream and be at a soul-sucking corporate job and cry."
Nope. Nope. Now
It's
you're too
amazing.
far in, girl. You're too
Yeah,
far in
no, oh
now.
my god, way too far in.
Yeah, you're almost unemployable like me. Thank you so much for being here. I know that everything you share is going to help so many people.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll have you on here again. Thank you, my dear. Thanks for hanging out with me on this episode. As you heard today, Gab went from saying yes to everyone to having clients that she genuinely cannot wait to work with. And that shift happened because she stopped operating from scarcity and started building systems that reflected her unique worth as a personal stylist. So if you're tired of taking whatever comes your way and you're ready to create a business that lights you up, I can help you get there. But I only have 3 spots left for one-to-one work in 2025. There's a link in the show notes to book a discovery call to see if we're a good fit. It's time for you to stop settling and start thriving. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It turns out that social proof is actually pretty important. So if you could help me out, I'd so appreciate it. If you just had a quick free moment and could leave me a rating or review on the podcast app, that would be killer. And even better, if you wanted to share this episode on Instagram and tag me, that would totally make my day. And it would bring so much more awareness to the podcast and would help other stylists just like you who are looking to build lucrative styling business, because the better each of us does, the better all of us do. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll chat with you next time.